Whose idea is this?
It's my idea.
Okay, but your name's not Marcella.
No, sir.
Alright, turn around.
Welcome back to Advocacy Alchemy with Professor Ross. Today we have a good one, guys. A woman in Pompano Beach, Florida, went into a check cashing business thinking she's about to outsmart the system. But what happens next is just a textbook lesson in fraud detection, legal accountability, and the power of bodycam footage. On May 8th, 2018, yes, I know it's an old one, but it's short and it achieves the point of teaching you several laws at once. What started as a suspicious attempt to cash a check quickly turned into a felony fraud case with 3 serious charges: criminal use of a personal ID, uttering a forged instrument, and grand theft. Today we'll break down not just the laws, but the thinking behind the arrest, the evidence needed to prove it, and how a jury might weigh these facts. So with that, let's jump in.
How's it going, man? What's going on today? You trying to cash something?
I'm not trying to.
Are you trying to cash a check that's not yours?
No.
Okay, where's the check?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, so what's going on?
Okay. They've been having me here for so long trying to cash my check.
Okay. Just stand by with her a minute. Try.
You're here to cash a check
Yes, sir.
from your job? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you from your job.
Yes, sir.
So where's the check made out from? Where do you work? Excuse me?
I feel like I don't have to answer these questions.
Okay.
Please, Lester.
What's your name, man? What's your
Callie
name?
Garcia.
Carly Garcia?
Callie Garcia.
So who's this? Whose idea is this?
It's my idea.
Okay, but your name's not Marcella.
No, sir.
Alright, turn around. She's being detained right now. Hang on. Turn your wrist this way, that way it doesn't hurt you that bad. There you go.
Can you make sure that bag stays safe and everything in it?
This?
Yes.
Yeah, this is gonna be.
It's not my bag.
It's all going to be in your property, just hand
My
it.
friend's bag. I don't want her to get mad.
You have anything on you? Nothing. Alright, sit down. You live with your parents? And so it went to Marcella, whatever her name is. You got out and found whoever to make you a fake ID, basically? And we're already here. You might as well just be straight up with me.
I just feel like maybe I will need a lawyer.
Okay. Go ahead. Shan. She doesn't want to talk.
She's refusing to talk.
Yeah. So I'm just going to reread your rights, all right? Before I ask you any questions, I want to advise you that I have your rights under law. You understand that I'm a police officer? You have the right to remain silent. That is, you don't need to talk to me or answer any questions if you don't want to. Do you understand? You got to be verbal, so.
Yes.
Okay. Should you talk to me, anything you say can and may be used against you in the court of law. Do you understand? You have the right to talk to an attorney, lawyer before talking to me, and to have an attorney, lawyer here with you during questioning now or in the future. Do you understand? If you can afford to retain your own attorney, lawyer, and you want an attorney or lawyer, one will be appointed to you before we ask you any questions. Do you understand? If you decide to answer the questions now without an attorney or lawyer present, you will still have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to an attorney or a lawyer. Do you understand? Knowing and understanding your rights as I have explained them to you, are you willing to answer any questions without an attorney or lawyer present?
I think that's a good idea.
You got to, I mean, it's whether you want to or not. You have the right not to talk to me, or you have the right to answer my questions and cooperate with the investigations. It's up to you.
Like, can I hear your questions? Like, can I ask them anyway?
If you don't want to answer my questions, I'm not going to ask you. So I want to know whether you're willing to talk to me and figure out what's going on.
I'll just wait till I get home.
Okay.
Now, there's 3 laws that are relevant here, and this case happened in Florida, remember. So first, we have the criminal use of personal identification information. This is found at section 817.568, section 2A of the Florida statutes. This is a 3rd-degree felony that carries up to 5 years in prison, 5 years on probation, and a fine of up to $5,000. Now, the statute makes it illegal to willingly and fraudulently use, possess, or attempt to use another person's ID or personal identifying information without their consent. Now, there are several elements that the prosecution will have to prove with this type of case. You have 1, the suspect used or possessed someone else's ID. 2, they did so without authorization. And 3, they intended to commit fraud or gain some benefit. Now here, Callie Garcia, she used a ID that was not hers, paired with other false information to attempt to cash a check at a financial institution. Next, we have uttering a forged instrument. Now, the instrument is the check itself, okay? Now, this is found at section 831.02. This is also a 3rd-degree felony, and the statute applies when a person knowingly passes or presents a forged document as if it were genuine. In this type of case, the state will have to prove the instrument was forged, the suspect presented the instrument, the suspect knew it was fake, and there was an overall intent to defraud. Now, the penalty is still that 555, up to 5 years in prison, 5 years of probation, fine of $5,000. Now here, presenting the false ID and attempting to cash that check, she essentially uttered a forged instrument to defraud this bank or financial institution. I don't know if this was a bank she was in or if this was a check cashing facility, but either way, they're both going to be considered a financial institution, and this crime would still apply. Next, we have grand theft in the 3rd degree. Now, this is found at 812.014, section 2C. And it says it's unlawful to take property valued at $750 or more with the intent to permanently deprive the owner of it. The state will have to prove that the person intended to steal, the property of the funds taken exceeded $750, and it was done without consent. It carries a penalty of up to 5 years in prison, 5 years of probation, a fine of up to $5,000. All right, so here, the attempt to cash that check once again, and the check was valued at much more than $750. That's all that was needed for this charge to stick. Even though the transaction was ultimately declined, she still could be hit with this charge. All right, next let's move into our evidentiary standards, because they still apply even with this short case, because the police had to still meet a certain standard before an arrest could happen. Okay, so let's switch seats and let's imagine that you're on the jury and that we're all sitting in the courtroom. You've seen the body cam, heard the testimony from the officers and the defendant. You've seen the receipts, you saw the fake ID. So, first question, do you believe that she didn't know the ID wasn't hers? It's a simple softball question. Or does the volume of evidence make that implausible? All right, this is one where we can get right into the intuition. It's a short one. It's not very much going on between the police and her. But when she stops and pauses and really doesn't want to talk to the police, when she suddenly invokes her right to remain silent, does that feel like someone caught doing something wrong? As a juror, you have a responsibility that's more than just analyzing what people say. You're also going to pick up on their tone, their posture, the hesitations in their speech. And that's where intuition is going to play its biggest role in trying to help you determine whether this person is telling you the truth, or maybe it all seems like a scheme that was concocted. Sometimes in real life, cases like these do go to jury trial, when cases like this do come to jury trial, they're fairly open and shut. They don't last all day, only a few hours. People get up there and say they're saved. And usually these are the type of cases that people take to trial because the offer from the state isn't very good. Maybe the state only wants to take off maybe 1 or 2 years off the maximum. So we heard that here, each of her charges carried 5 years. So together, if they ran consecutive to each other, she would have had to do 15 years in prison. If they're taken as an aggregate and they run concurrent, 5 years in prison. All right. She was given the probation term. She didn't finish up until here recently, as we heard from the original uploader. I have pulled her file. I have it here. I'll have it in the top comments so you can take a look at all that. But let me hear from you. What do you think? Guilty or not guilty based on what you saw and heard? You heard that she had a fake ID. She admitted that that was not her. She refused to talk to the police. Also, let me ask you, truly, now I've explained to you on several occasions that people have a right to not incriminate themselves. But when a person doesn't assist the police or doesn't give anything, if you were a juror, does that cloud your vision of that person? Now, I will say that during every jury trial, that is one of the instructions, especially if a person does not choose to testify. That's the instruction, is really pause and make sure that it's delivered to the jury that you're not to consider a person's not testifying as going toward their innocence or their guilt, because they have an absolute right not to testify. All right, so once again, tell me below in the comments, guilty or not guilty. This case is a classic example of how everyday transactions, like cashing a check, can become a serious legal event. The law takes financial crimes very seriously, especially when fraudulent identities are involved. And always remember, if someone is silent, nervous, and carrying multiple criminal tools, then that can be a red flag. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you have spotted this fraud? What stood out to you? How'd you feel about the officer's response? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. And remember, this is Advocacy Alchemy, and I am Professor Ross. I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the 4th of July. Be safe, and have a great day.